I've been working on building this log splitter for about a week and a half now, and I had all kinds of lovely build footage for everyone to see, which I've now lost due to a corrupt SD card. So now what I'm going to do is, I'm not quite finished yet, so I'll start with doing a little walkthrough of what I've done, and then I'll show you the rest of the build and what I need to do to finish it. And unfortunately, that's the way it's got to be. So let's start with what I've done so far. The main base of the machine consists of an old front axle from an old tractor, and I've welded a center beam off of it. And when I did this, I leveled this beam in all directions so that I could build everything else off of it, and it would make the whole thing sit level and square. And since I leveled off this beam to begin with in all directions, what it allows me to do is, when I wanted to mount my hydraulic tank or my engine to this frame, all I needed to do was find a nice square, or not square, but straight edge, clamp that to my center beam, and then let's say this is the motor mount or something I wanted to add. I just needed to clamp that in place. Take my square, square it up in that direction, and then I know that mount is level. So that's how I put the motor on, that's how I put all the uprights for the support of the splitter I-beam itself. All the hydraulics for this splitter are used. I actually picked up an old wood splitter that someone had built that really needed a lot of work and a lot of repair, but the hydraulics were still good on it. So that's what I based this machine off. So luckily I was able to get all these hydraulics at a good price. I did upgrade to a new motor, 15 horsepower, and I'm just actually finishing up, now that I'm able to record again, working on the cutting end of the splitter. So I haven't actually finished this area here, and that's where I'll begin with the fabrication on this video. Okay, back on track here. So this is the business end of the splitter. This is the large sliding plate, and I need to tie this into the ram. So found some old, I think this is 3/4 inch thick steel plate here, and I've drilled 1-inch holes in it, and I have 2 of them, which are going to go on either side of the ram. So I'll weld these to the plate here, and then I'm going to weld my push plate onto the front of it. And for the plate that's actually going to push the logs through, I'm using 1 1/8" steel, so there's no way that's going to bend. There she is, all welded up. I mean, the beauty of this is it's not pulling on the welds, it's just pushing on this plate, and it's basically keeping the ram from moving up and down. So the amount of penetration on that weld I got on an 1-inch thick plate is probably pretty minimum with my 240 volt MIG, but I think it'll be perfectly fine. So I'll move on to the splitting head itself. Now, one of the main reasons I'm building this splitter is that I want a multi-wedge design, so it splits my log into multiple pieces, especially some smaller pieces. I already have a little electric wood splitter, just splits the log in half, and it actually works fine for the size of logs that I usually work with. But I want to be able to put a log through this thing and get some kindling, some normal size wood, and maybe another larger piece. So the plan for that is, I have actually 2 cutting blades here that I've ground. They're 3/4 inch steel bars, and I've cut an angle with the oxyacetylene torch on them and then hand ground them after that. And what I plan on doing is setting these right into the I-beam, side by side, maybe maintaining a gap of about 4 inches, and then that's going to give me my 3-way bottom split. And And then I'm also going to incorporate a side plate to give me a split in half. But I'll start by setting these into the I-beam. So I've gone ahead and marked off a few things on the beam here that I need to know. One of them is the main feeder for the splitter stops here. I'm going to have my top cutting blade be around this area, and then my bottom two splitter blades stop here. So this is the area I'm going to be cutting out of the beam. And I'll be able to set my blade right into that beam. Give it a little bit of an angle. And that's going to ensure that it can't be pushed right off the back because of a broken weld or something. It'll actually be locked right in. So I'll plasma cut these out top and bottom and slide these right in. So with that notch cut out, I can just drop my cutting blades right in there, and there's no way that that's ever gonna push through there or break a weld and go flying off the back. Now those are all welded in. They're looking pretty deadly. I also did spread them a little bit like this, about 1/4 inch, which hopefully is enough, but stop wood from jamming in here as it gets pushed through. Give it a little space to expand. So the next thing I'm going to do is put my cutting plate that goes this way. So I've just set my top plate, or my horizontal plate, on top of the two cutting blades. Pretty much where I want it, but all measured up, and I'm just going to trace out blades. I'll plasma cut those out fairly large so I can slip it over. I also did a little cut along the front edge to start shaping the blade with the plasma cutter, and I'll finish grinding that after. So there's my two holes, rough cut. So slide over here. And I'm definitely going to put some pretty good angle in this, and that'll stop any wood from jamming underneath here. I'll go ahead and weld that in place, and I just need to grind it up and we can do some test cuts. Well, it definitely has the power to split through this kind of wedge, but it was jamming up. You can see on this log, it doesn't push it all the way through, and then this is just jammed in between these two. So I didn't quite spread them enough, but I mean, it's really not that big a deal because I can just keep pushing logs through anyways because it's got the power. So anyways, I'll go split some wood with it and see how it works.